Hello and welcome to round 5, I think, of the Slip Grip GT4 Championship. Sorry for the late start this evening. We had to miss last week due to the temperature. Wasn't man enough to put in a stream, and then my settings were wrong and my game was out of date for this week. But here we are, 15 drivers currently in qualifying. It's been a 20-minute session. Some of the guys already getting times in. Matt Johnston, we've heard, being quick in practice. But it already looks like that's translating. We know Ryan Ware, he's rapid just about everywhere. And then the rest of the field all settling down. Dave Rose currently in 8th place, you see on the screen. Earlier on having to negotiate his way past Joe. Stranded across the circuit. Wow, well he's consistent, so that last lap a 138.810, the lap prior 138.805, so 0.005 off for Dave. So here is Matty J. He joined the series late and gambled on the Mercedes, really found his feet already. And then he comes down into the chicane. We've seen a number of drivers in other series like the end of the GT3s or even the Porsches last time out. Some battles lost and won in that chicane, so that should be quite amusing. If you are in the chat, let me know. Welcome in. It's going to be a quiet one. I am by myself this evening. There we go, top of the times, Ryan Ware. We saw him earlier on in the season improving. He's almost a 10th quicker than Matt, but Matt is a 10th up on his delta. The car, or track, sorry, already optimum. The circuit will progress on from this. Can Matt translate that into a faster lap? He can indeed. So 3rd place. Ash Copeland 1.1 behind at this stage. There he is in the positive perception Porsche. Everyone's still finding their feet. We've got 11 minutes left in this session. And Brown joining the series. There he is in the Code Brown Camaro. V8 power heads its way further down, straight into the final chicane. Brings it down the gears, he's currently 0.2 up, but he is 1.1 off the pace, sideways out the final turn. Not much seat time for Ant, but always strong out of the box. There he goes, brings it within a second, and that Ash Copeland car just ahead. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to stop, why not eat it at a wall? McGee heads out onto another. His last lap not quite quicker. Actually worth a mention for John Walker, he's well up on his time. Where is he? There he is. The green McLaren has been doing well throughout the series. Currently leading the silvers, but there are only 2, so again later on in a championship people just fading out slightly. Some understeer there for John, not getting the nose in quite as he would have wanted. That improvement on his delta dwindles as he heads down into the final chicane. So he'll gather himself and go again. Ever improving. Where is Mr. Challoner? Mr. Challoner is into the pits. Alex McGee, we saw him start the lap. Let's just watch it through to the end. Domino's livery on the side of the Ginetta. An improvement this time for Alex. He stays 7th. Dave Rose is currently on a 2-minute something, so it's an outlap. See how Mark is getting on. Mark Saniel in the Brabus Racing Mercedes AMG number 42. Some movement further up, I believe. Yeah, it's Andrew Wellborn into 3rd place, so he'll be soon in the battle for those top positions. So Mark, you can see on the left hand side, has a yellow bar next to his name. That is because of his ping. So Mark's connection not quite as optimal as the other guys. As we see him a little floaty out of the turn. Hopefully no impact on his race, and I mean that literally. Hopefully no impact. Yeah, a little floaty on the car. Not. It's almost like it's crabbing the front end, pulling away there, but. Nevertheless, he heads across the line, improves on his time, but stays 12th, or hey-ho, just ahead of him. Ash Wilson's on an outlap. Ellie Douglas, we saw her in race 1 of the series, qualifying towards the lower half of the field. And a couple of incidents, but good to see her back. Entertainment for her Sunday evening. Close that gap down to Ash Wotton at the moment. So Matty J just ahead, so some good targets to chase after. Who is improving? Ellie doesn't appear to be on this lap. Number of drivers going 0.1 better off. Who's further through their lap? John Walker out the final turn, looks like a 0.3 improvement, so could actually challenge Ant Brown. Oh, not quite. 0.02 for John, so he's certainly found some pace. He needs to just keep going and he'll soon knock a few tenths out of that one. And Brown not improving on that time of asking. That was a 38.2, so just cements how well John is doing there. Dave Rose looks like he's improving. Where is he? Camera will catch up in a minute. There we go. There he goes. So he is chasing down Ash Wotton just ahead of him on track. Both in the same car. 0.5 up for Dave. This could put him right on contention with John. It does. There it does. Yes. So he's jumped Ant Brown as well. So that's a storming lap for the AM driver as he clips the gravel, obviously in celebration. How's Ryan doing? Ryan is storming. So another of the Aston Martins, a number of them on track at the moment across the different classes. Into that final chicane, he's currently 0.2 up. So the circuit is definitely progressing. That's Red Optimum for a long while. But it appears that he's going to jump to the top by 0.190, so a really good lap there for Ryan. How can Matty J respond? Two up, a little ragged over there, it drops to 0.1 up, so it's going to be close, but I think, no, that's dropped away that 0.1, so Matt, yeah, he does improve, it's a 37.007, so not quite into the 36s, he's got 4 minutes. I feel that Matt may chuck another set on and go, because he's that kind of mentality. he's going to chase that for everything it's worth. Joe in the background, weaving behind Wellborn. Andrew on a normal lap. Joe warming up for his next. So he'll be looking to get a tow from Andrew, maybe copy some lines. Andrew not improving on that time of asking, 37.8, so a bit of a gap to the leaders, but then a real bunch down from, well, 3rd to 7th. That's covered by 0.2. Big sideways for Andrew, that's not going to be an improvement. Yeah, the delta's dropping down. Joe Challoner will then try and use that tow. A number of drivers all on this bit of circuit. You see him there down the bottom. One car of Joe, then the 55 of Paul Hayhoe. Paul just decided to come and have a race this evening. There he is in the Porsche. Joe a little ragged ahead, Wellborn now 0.1 up, so even with that slide we saw earlier on Andrew, closing the gap to the leaders. However, I didn't notice that Ryan has gone quicker again, so Matt's now got 0.3 to find. 3rd place, Andrew Wellborn, 1.1 off the lead. Kind of showing who's been practicing and where people are at. Paul's not improving on this time of asking. Ellie now crosses the line. An improvement there, jumps ahead of Ashwotton, heading towards the likes of McGee, also in the Ginetta, so good improvement there for Ellie. She's got 2 more minutes, so she will get this lap and another. 2 more goes to try and take the fight to McGee. Ash Copeland 0.1 up, but he's only just made it out of the first turn, so not sure what that says. There's a little bit to be found in that first sector. Millimetre perfect onto that exit curve, maximising his run onto the back straight, but not overstepping the mark and dipping some wheels into the gravel, down into the chicane. Conservative on the first and the second, so a nice clean line, no risks taken there by Ash. Half a second improvement at the moment, now looking more like 0.6. Braking as soon as he straightens the car. Again, quite reserved on the curves. Bigger chunk of the second, but that lines him well for this next part. Gets the car rotated. Makes use of the curb. Out onto the next curve, back across before the grass. Evens the car out over the rise and fall. Maybe a little early, but gets the steering unwound again, making good use of the curb. 0.6 up, so it was briefly 0.7, not quite as quick out of that turn as before, but it's all adding up in the green. 0.6 improvement. Finds his braking point, big chunk of the first. Little nibble of the second, unwinds the steering. Little touch of oversteer, but it's good rotation. Currently showing 0.7 up, so this could be Ash into 3rd. It definitely is starting to bridge that gap. He's in between Johnston and Wellborn. 25 seconds left on the clock. Ash says that's enough and pulls it over to the side. There goes Wellborn. He did improve. Is he going to elect to do the next lap as well? So he did improve. He closed the gap, but not quite within that magic second. Johnston just ahead has managed to go on to another lap. Right, that's it. Anyone that isn't across the line now, like the 616, cannot do another lap. So Ryan Ware has finished. He's the first to come across the line. Number 13, Joe Challoner, will be the next one through. He's got a 0.1 improvement showing currently. No, 13 used to be Joe Challoner. That was John Walker, sorry. So John unable to improve on that last lap. 42. Mark down across the line. Does improve, but it is still 9th for Mark. So Mark will start inside the top 10. Next one through, car number 4. Alex Osborne, currently towards the back of the field. The camera can't find him, it'll jump across. There we go. So Alex Osborne. I've somehow ended up on a replay. Sorry about that. So there's Alex McGee. Right, 4th. Alex Osborne doesn't improve. Number 23 has pulled over. That's Andrew Wellborn. Number 1 will go through. That is Joe Challoner. So he didn't quite improve. He was 0.1 off. Johnston did manage to improve, but not quite enough to get on terms with Ryan. I believe Tom Lyons has joined at the last moment. Oh no, he's been and gone. So he was listed but didn't run. Right then, let's get the old broadcasting thing back on. There we go. So the first one for you is a 20-minute race, and then the second one. Oh yes, we've had spam in the chat. Love it. Yeah, we've had Ryan on pole. And yes, we've got a 20-minute race to begin with, and then a 60-minute race to follow that. So 3 times as long in the second, and will be a different challenge to all the drivers. That will be good. Let's have a look in the Discord, see who is available. Ryan isn't in there, so we'll just grab Matty J. Matty J, not quite the pole position you'd hoped for, but still a good effort.
No, yeah, it was close in that qualifying.
Close down the front, and then Mr. Copeland bridged the gap.
Joined us, yeah.
Yeah, bridged the
Not
gap.
sure what was,
and then Andrew onwards are all a second plus. So yeah, 0.2, 0.5, and then a second. But then the mid pack is mighty close. 0.1 or 0.2 was the difference between 12th and 8th.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be definitely a split sort of pack. I think the front. Me, Ash and Ryan are just going to drive away a bit. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. See if there's any accidents or whatever.
You could end up towing Wellborn and Brown with you. They're the head of that next pack, but they know how to race when they're together.
This is true, yeah. Ant was struggling with practice, struggling with times in the practice and qualifying. But whether that's just because he was by himself and now he's following. Might be able to keep with us and make it interesting, I don't know.
Might drag him along. Well, yeah. We will certainly find out. 20 minutes and then an hour after that. It's 2 very different races.
Certainly is. Full
Good
speed
stuff.
Ahead for the sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'll chuck you back in the other chat and let you do your outlap, get the car in the right place. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Right, so that's Matt, probably quite keen to make a move on Ryan at the start and hold on to that. Hold on to a first place, keep him in contention, because we've seen in previous races when Ryan gets clear at the front, he is able to break away. So the field all head away from the line. Ellie is in the pit, so potentially didn't ready up in time. No problem, they can soon get stuck into the battles. Don't panic about the cars hitting each other. There is ghosting in the outlap, so a number of drivers will wind each other up and try and put each other off by driving around inside each other's cars. Some drivers electing to weave, some just braking heavy to build tyre pressure, build tyre temperature, get the car generally in the right place. Others just prattling around, as you see Matt electing to use that technique. So the drivers instructed to form up 2 by 2. They find their places on the grid. Ryan and Matt will square up out of the final turn. Matt's normally pretty good at getting the right position for a start. If not, he's slightly ahead when he's starting second. So we will just grab the helicam quick. We'll watch from about Andrew's position. We'll see how this goes. So the green light called. Good start from Dave Rose. You see him nosing slightly ahead of Ant, but Ant will carry the inside line. Matt's trying to go the long way round past Ryan. It's going to give him the inside for the next turn, and I believe he may already be successful. Gets the steering unwound. Can he get ahead? No, Ryan's managed to get the steering unwound. So holding 2 by 2. I'm sure there's plenty of action further back, but your leaders side by side at the start of the race. Nothing to judge between them. Matt slightly faster ahead, so it looks like, yeah, Matt has got ahead of Ryan, which is what he wanted to do. Andrew now looking to attack Ash. We've lost Ant's dropped a little further back. I don't know if there was contact, but the front 4 filed through. Alex McGee in the Domino's livery is now ahead of Ant Brown, so Ant Brown down to 7th after running through the timing beacon. Then a little gap back. Joe under attack from John Walker. John not quite far enough alongside. He's had to go the long way, but that's made him susceptible to Mark. So Joe taking the optimal line through there. John not able to capitalise, and he's had to drop back slightly. Slow car. Ash is a little off the pace of the front 2, already breaking away. Matt's got a bit of breathing room. This is backing him in, I think. Ant Brown just touched the back of Alex McGee. They've both gathered it up and they've carried on. So John now trying to come back at Joe. Joe had that breathing room, but he's not got it anymore. Joe turns in. John not that far away. Paul Hayhoe now looking to attack Mark. And the Porsche only elected that he was going to race at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, if that. The gaps spread out slightly. Tidier exit from Paul. What can he do? It'll be the long way round if he's going to. Is it going to be a later apex? Yeah, that's sort of what he's going for. He might have caught Mark at the wrong place. He's still well in contention, but the horsepower of the Mercedes, we've seen it before, just keeping Mark in contention there. Into the corner earlier. Again in the Mercedes. Let's give him Paul the run. Mark's going to make him go the long way round, but he is on the marble, so he's just got to be careful into the braking zone. It's now braking himself. Paul brakes later. Mark still gets it stopped, takes a good apex. The wider sweeping for the Porsche, but he's got to be careful because Chris Monroe now brings his Camaro closer to the back of Paul. There's a little look. Nothing to be done there. Oh no, Alex McGee is round. Quick 10-second replay. He's gone down the inside of Dave Rose and taken them both round. Both had to wait for the traffic to go through. Be a penalty for Alex if it goes to the stewards. They've both recovered, but they are down at the back of the field. Ellie is now on track and running, so out of the pit lane start, she is on track and will be hoping that she can get onto the back of the pack if there's some more issues for the likes of Alex. There he is, right, further forward, Matt Johnston. Yeah, a bit of breathing room down the front, then comes Ryan. There we go. That angle makes it look far closer than we saw a moment ago. Wellborn up past Copeland, so we've missed that. Sorry, Andrew, but now he's going to go chasing, and that race pace can be displayed that we've seen in previous weeks. Ash Copeland qualified well, only down one place at the moment, bit of breathing room behind, so he can continue on well, and Andrew can tie him round. If not, come back and attack Andrew. Pick your fights on this occasion would probably be the advice, but Ash definitely looking racy. Background you saw a moment ago, and Brown back through to 5th, so those earlier lost positions being recovered. Doesn't look like Ash is going to attack just yet, so we'll just hop back. There is Ant. So after some moves earlier on, he's back to 5th. We've seen Joe and John fighting, so they will continue on. How's Mark getting on? Mark, he's dropping away slightly from Paul. This is Paul on your screen now, so where Paul was looking to attack, Mark's just got his car into that operating window. It's down to that chicane, and he's got Chris Monroe not too far behind at all. So it's a movement ahead. Is that Challoner getting weavy on the back of Ant having to defend? John's gone very inside, forces Joe to cover that move. So I'd never thought I'd see the day, but Ant Brown looking like a bit of a cork in the bottle. Joe late on the turn in there, giving John all of the opportunities, but it's put John narrower later on, so we'll see how he can cover the speed. If you are joining me in the chat and you're not a spam bot, feel free to let me know you're there. Let me know if there's anyone you want to watch. Let me know that I'm actually live. And fall, the guys just spreading out slightly, the gap at the front coming down somewhat. 0.4 gap down the front. Mark all over the back of John now, so Mark, where these guys just bunching slightly. Mark looking for an opportunity. Is they're going to be down into the tight right hand. Tyres squealing and ABS pumping away into that braking zone. You can just hear it. These four set to have a fairly good battle, already a quarter of the way into this race. At the back, Alex has got a bit of breathing space, but then you've got a recovering Dave Rose tucked up behind Ash Wootton at the moment in the Mars car. There is Ash in the number 4. Black, red and gold livery, quite striking on that car. It's just the colours, let alone realising what the brand is, a really impressive livery to look at. It's exciting, we've got a comment then, but the spam bot's back. Flash of lights from Osborne ahead, trying to put Chris Monroe off. This queue behind Ant Brown really looks like it could kick off at any moment. He's really slow covering that inside line. He's waiting for the guys to trip over themselves. I don't think we're too far off. Looking at your map on the right hand side, the field is still together, but Ant is at the head of that train. They spread out slightly as we come off the slower corners. And as quick as we've come off that corner, we've headed into another hairpin. Good drive out from Joe. Can he go with the Camaro? Is there going to be an opportunity into the final turn? He's made his intentions quite clear early on. Later on the brakes, closes up on the back of the Camaro. Probably lucky that Ant turned in where he did. Joe's been out of the seat for a little while. Joe's got a fairly young child now, so father duties have been taking over his sim racing. But he's holds his own in 6th, and he's looking fairly racy, looking to get past Ant. These three just breaking away from Mark in the second half of the lap. He was a little unsettled, but Ant not got the rotation there. It's almost like he split that one long turn into 2. Joe ducks to the outside, compromises Ant's turn in. So if Joe can get a better run through, does it give it? Oh, Ant's dipped the gravel. So it's going to be the outside for Joe, but he may be able to clear the Camaro by the time we get in. Yep, he has. He shuts the door, so no opportunity for Ant to dive back through. Joe's got to keep it clean through the chicane. Ant absolutely launches it over the chicane. And even if it was a cut track, it was well worth it, because it's given him the run into this second chicane. It's put him the inside, so Joe may have to sacrifice this for the run. Is he going to hang it round the long? He's hung it round the long way, forces Ant over the chicane. And Joe does maintain that pace. Fantastic effort by Joe Challoner there, streaking away now in the Alpine. Got the run. John, too many J's. John will want to do the same fairly soon. All this battling has allowed Mark to catch back up. Oh, John early on the power, he's compromised. John Walker sideways, now a lump of curb, trying to keep out of Mark's way. Paul's got the run as well. John a late defence. Paul had already started moving, so Paul does tuck back in. John on the power as well, so those tyres might be cooked. That's the halfway stage of this race, with 10 minutes down, with 10 minutes to go. Turn 1, Paul with the lights on. John potentially with some warm tyres, rotating on the exit there. Back down the front, the gap is staying stable at about 0.3. Best laps are 36.6 for Matt, so he's for Ryan, sorry. So at one stage of this race he was able to close in. It's now 0.1. That might be getting a little spicier. Over the crest they go down the front, so these two holding pace with each other. They're 6.2 seconds ahead of Andrew Wellborn on the split, so they have got some time to fight. They can have a battle without compromising themselves against the other guys. Wellborn there sideways, massively sideways. He's going to want to calm that down for the longest stint of the next race. No mandatory stops, but they've got limited tyres. Through the next split they go. 6.2 back. A second, the gap back to Ash. So Ash not close enough to attack at this time of asking, but he will definitely be on the road after Wellborn, ready to pick up the pieces if anything like that happens. Joe not able to break away. Ant just staying with him instead of being the cork in a bottle. Now he's got a target to go and chase, and that's how Ant will operate best. Camaro a little more comfortable over the larger curves, not as unsettled as the Alpine, but that's another lap tucked away. Half hour until it starts raining. That's not significant in this race, but I believe race 2 is the same day, so if it's going to rain in half hour, it might be the case that the next race is in the wet. And running wide, pushing the limits of the Chevrolet. Under wraps for the moment, but that won't help his tyres. Mark now, if we jump on board, see in the mirror there, John is ready to pounce when possible. It's how much these drivers elect to take out of the chicane. So braking much late for Mark, closes up on Ant, but Ant on the power earlier. A little more unsettled over the second curve, but you can see the drive that he's got extending the gap over the rise and fall. Keep the car nice and stable through the left-hander brake in the straight line. Ready to tuck it in for the first apex. Not too much for Mark, and he's taking bigger chunks, but that's riskier. Bigger chunk of that second curve. Mark just clipping the apex and able to drive away, but John's not been able to keep with him through there, so the field's spreading slightly. John lagging massively in the background. Thought he'd binned it into the wall at hyperspeed, but no, he's closing in on Mark in that braking zone. Yeah, the tyres scrub slightly, so not quite on the front end as you'd like, but it's doing well. The car is holding up to the fight. Now the lead of the AM drivers in 7th place, gapping Ashwood by quite a difference. That's 7th over 11th. Stays to the left, fades over to the right. There's another lap in the bag at 38.5, matching the pace of the cars ahead. Joe was a little off on that last one, so not quite able to break away as he'd like to. Come in under pressure from and slightly further back. There's Paul Hayhoe, so John's got to keep his eyes on his mirrors and forward as well. Osborne's got a bit of breathing room, but it's Ashwoodson in the Mars car that's now got Munro, McGee, Rose, all in a line. These 4 cars. Alex probably a little out of position for his class, but well wrapped up in this battle. Break until we go. Monroe running that white line, not much of the first curve taken, a bigger chunk of the second. There he is in the Yotis car. Second chicane, here we go. Getting all comparable amounts, a little bit more unsettled for the Chevrolet. Just dropping off this pack slightly. Unfortunate for Ellie, she's not quite in contention. She started in the pit lane. Hopefully the hour race suits her a little better, but we'll see her in the mix. The lap times are constantly improving, and this one's 0.6 better on the Delta, so full send racing for Ellie Douglas. Had a cutaway there. We've got Ryan off onto the grass, almost into the back of Matty J. If we just get a 30-second replay. So Ryan's had a really good run off the last turn, heading down into turn 1. Not made the move there, gone for the later turn in to give him better apex speed, which it did. Matt a little compromised on the way in. Covers the inside line, but still holding good pace earlier on the throttle. Ryan's then put his nose to the inside. Tried to duck wide, but maybe a bit of wash, maybe a bit offline. Just dabs him across that grass, and he's not got the front tyres for the turn in. I don't know if he went at him again, but Matty J living to tell the tale. You've then, behind Ryan, got the gap that is Andrew Wellborn. And as we said, Ash there, just keeping him honest, keeping with him, still within that second mark. Now, Ant's got back through on Joe. I'm not sure when that's happened. That's happened this lap. Should we go 30 seconds? Let's see. Yeah, so he'd already got through by that stage. But Joe, and taking huge leaps over that curve. He's either judging it to perfection, or he knows exactly how many cut track penalties he's got, because that would have saved him a huge amount of time clearing that second part of the chicane, almost airborne. Yeah, big chunks for Ant. He's getting brave. A flash of lights from Joe. Would it even be a Joe Challoner battle without a flash of the lights? Oh, Ant wide, so this is going to get spicy yet again. Later on the brakes for Ant, so just keeps that car on the optimal line. Joe goes for the cutback. The agile Alpine able to do so. Has he cleared him? He has cleared him by the exit, and not quite got a run to come. Oh, nearly, so just caught out by Joe's braking point there. And that's unsettled him and put him on the back foot for this straight. So Ant Brown has been passed by Mark. That looks like John round the outside, and yeah, John's got it done. Ant has to get it stopped, releases the brake, fires it through the hair chicane. Wow. So these two tripping over each other has allowed Paul Hayhoe into the mix. So what can Paul do? Can he hang it the long way around the entry to the chicane? Not likely, not round that wall of a Camaro. The Camaro looking really unsettled, but 2 Porsches behind, taking the long way around that chicane. Joe and Mark breaking away. John now the car under threat from Ant. So Ant not finding the race pace he would have wanted. John in narrow. Paul running a faster, slightly looser apex. McGee and Dave Rose behind. Ant looks like he's storming into every corner, whereas Paul looks a little more refined and therefore able to get on the power, millimetre perfect, to the rear bumper of Ant. Ant's half covered the inside, Paul's going even more inside, so Ant's going to have to take the sweep round the outside. Paul maybe not able to carry enough pace there. Ant dips it into the gravel though, it drags him off the circuit as soon as he's gone anywhere near it. It's left him susceptible to Alex Osborne coming into the fight in the other Porsche. And doesn't know whether to defend or cry at the moment, I would have thought. So he's got some breathing room ahead. He's going to just want to hold on to this 9th place, but Alex is going to want that 9th place off of him. The guy's breaking away at the front. John, now not under pressure, is able to close up to the cars ahead. Alex looks into the chicane, but no way through there. And huge amount to curb. He's up on 2 wheels. He's either perfected it or he's risking everything to try and go back at Paul. Again, now coming under some pressure. Dave Rose wanting to get ahead. Those two nice and close on the circuit. Talking of nice and close on the circuit, the guys down the front. Goes on and on. There's only 30 seconds left on the timer, so this will be the final lap starting now. There we go. They start the final lap 0.1 apart. Matt having to defend a more optimal line from Ryan, but Matt easing up on the apex potentially to let Ryan run into the back of him. Ryan too quick on the brakes though. That looks like a more optimal line from Ryan. Ryan was very strong in the quali session. Has he got his nose alongside? No, not on that time of asking. Both of them back on the power comparably. Heading down that back straight. You see the mini-map on the right-hand side, all those close drivers, but we will give your leaders some coverage as they are battling into the chicane. Big chunks for Matt. That certainly found him a bit of free room, so as long as he's not risking any drive-throughs or cut tracks, he's given himself some breathing room, which was probably a good card to play, although Ryan really closing up on the brakes and settles the car down. So I think Matt did gain through that chicane. Ryan's taken back off of him almost immediately. More settled on the way. Matt grabs the inside curb. That will have compromised him, but it'll be the long way around for Ryan. Not able to get his nose alongside, so Matt covers the inside through the right-hander. Really slow turn there. Both comparable on the exit, but Matt still ahead. He's held on to this place. Ryan's closed him back down, and Ryan has got that fastest lap, which is 0.4 faster than Matt, so he's just been biding his time, but not able to do anything on the last lap. Through the chicane we go. A little dab of oversteer for Matt, but he has held on. A tremendous fight there for Ryan. A wiggle of the steering. A fantastic battle there for first and second place. Andrew Wellborn then a little gap back, but he comes over the brow of the hill with Ash Copeland in tow. The two of them keeping each other honest for the duration of that race, 3rd and 4th. Now, Joe Challoner, he's made the fight through. John has got past on Mark Samuel since the last sector. So in the closing moments of this, Joe's got 5th from Ant's dropped way down. It's then John Walker that has passed Mark Sanyel. Paul Hayhoe comes through, and it is Ant then holding on, and literally holding on. He's had a real battle in that last lap. He was down in the 38.7s. So Ant Brown holds on for 9th. Alex McGee rounding out the top 10. Alex Osborne rounding out the top 10. McGee in the Domino's car, bringing it home in 11th. Dave Rose, Ash Wotton, Stephen Pole, Chris Monroe, and then Ellie heading away through the final chicane. Hopefully starting the next one on the grid will be right in the mix, because her lap times have come right down and are comparable to the cars ahead. So a brilliant job there from Ellie. With the comments there from earlier on, "Welp, I'm stupid," so that was probably not readying up rather than electing to start from the pits. But a fantastic job there. Let's try and grab a word with Matty J. So Matty J able to make the move early on and then hold on for first place, but Ryan really kept you honest there.
Yeah, I think overall he was much stronger. He's got more pace, but I just managed to get the move done early and defend. Yeah, I was struggling towards the end. I think on the second to last lap, got a bit squirrely over the little chicane. I think it was started a slow puncture or punctured the rear right. So the last 2 laps were really struggling.
Yeah, absolutely, but held on for dear life, and that is what matters. Yeah, Ryan's fastest lap was actually 0.4 faster than yours.
Yeah.
So if he'd managed to make the pass, you'd have said, like you did say, he had the pace.
Yeah.
Able
I've
to
no doubt if he.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no doubt if he got ahead, then he would have just driven away. So just getting in front early and defending was probably my only choice. But yeah, a few more laps at the end, I think he'd have got me.
Absolutely. So we saw on the forecast of the last race that it was going to rain in half an hour. So that would have been in the gap between the two races. So
yes.
The track may be slightly green. Well, it says fast at the moment, so it's been racing. Looking by the flags, there's a fair bit of wind. We could see some rain later on in this session.
Essentially. I haven't done any wet practice at all, so we'll see what happens.
So from that statement, it's send in the same setup and see how you get on.
Pretty much, yeah. And if it comes to it, stick some wets on with some random tyre pressures that I'm not sure. And that's about it, really.
Perfect. Well, good luck with that. We'll throw you back in the other chat. Nice one, Matt.
No worries. Thank you very much.
I say throw you back in the other chat. My mouse has disappeared. There we go. Right, bye. So, should we grab a quick word with Ant? Ant, that looked like a real fight, that last race. Any changes to the setup this one?
Yeah, pretty much everything. It was really hard to control and drive it quickly. As soon as it got away from you, the front end just pushed and pushed and pushed. It was not enjoyable.
No.
But it was really good fun, because it was nice battling with Joe and Alex Osborne and Paul Hayhoe and stuff, and everyone else.
I think you had a fight with pretty much everyone in the field at some point. As
as I was slowly going
sink,
backwards.
Sink down the leaderboard, unfortunately. So some changes now, an hour-long race. Potential for rain is probably quite high, as we've now got a fast track. So there was rain in between the two sessions, so it could quite easily blow another one through.
Yeah, I might end up blowing a gasket as well, we'll see.
Well, stick it out. It's good to see all 16
cars
making it to the
it's all
end.
good fun.
It absolutely
it's
is.
all good fun.
Absolutely is.
I'm going to try something very mental. Right, I must get into the race before I forget.
Yeah, please do. We've got
there we
20
go.
seconds.
Now we can continue talking.
Good stuff.
So, how was it from your end, though?
Oh yeah, didn't know where to watch. It was really good. I liked your tactic at the first major chicane after the back straight. The airborne to save tyre tread must have been.
Yes.
Yeah, just you're not wearing your tyres out if you're in the air kind of gig.
It's the only saving grace I could feel with this car is the fact that you can actually yeet that first chicane, and it doesn't give you a track cut if you do it just right, and it doesn't seem to go sideways like a Porsche or a McLaren.
Will you let slip how many track cuts you were on that last race?
2.
Out of 4.
All from the second chicane.
Yeah. Oh, from the second.
Yeah.
So that first, the one that you were jumping, no penalties given throughout the entire race?
No penalties given.
Ah, very good. Very good. Very good. Well, good luck on maintaining your 5th. May you move ever forwards on the race circuit. Let's hope those setup tweaks let you hold on to that position.
Yeah, just driving it now on cold tyres, it's incredibly dicey. So
okay, I'll let you get the tyres in. Remember, the track's fast and not optimum as you're used to.
Yeah, I'm not fast, that's the problem.
Okay, well, you should match well with the track. Good man, have a good race. We'll hopefully speak to you later on.
Thanks, Tom. Laters.
Who shall we talk to? Finished where the last one? Dave Rose finished 6th. He started 6th. No, looking at the wrong one. Walker went forward 1 place. Chandler. Joe went 10th to 5th on the last one. Joe, 10th to 5th in the last race. Hoping to do the same again?
Fingers crossed.
We got more time. You've got 3 times more time. So you're going to win this one.
Yeah, I had some good battles in the last one, particularly with Ant. So yeah, I just want some good racing, really. It's good fun.
Sounds like he's made some tweaks. So we'll see how his car performs on this run.
Interesting. Yeah, I've upped the ride height a bit to having the chicane, so hopefully I see a bit of benefit from that as well.
Yeah, much more fuel in for this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to say like 3 times as much.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Sound. I don't think anyone will elect to stop, but I think there could be some quite worn tyres, especially some burped tyres if people are hammering curves too much.
Yeah, it might rain as well, so we'll see what happens with the weather.
There is a chance. There's
Might
been
throw another
rain.
spanner in.
Yeah, there's been rain in between the 2 sessions. It was on the forecast for the last one, and now the track is fast. But either way, you're squaring up for the start of the race, so I'll let you stop talking to me, and good luck for this one, Joe.
Thank you.
Oh, cut him off. Sorry, Joe. Right, where's my helicopter? There we go. Chris Rock, stream's good, good comms. Well, glad you're enjoying it. I am by myself. I do have to keep taking pauses. But hopefully we can carry on and offer you the same stream quality as the last. There we go, green light. Matt Johnson not as favourable in his starting position this time round, so he will try and go the long way round on Ryan, but it'll have to be from a long way back. They're 3 wide further back. Chris Monroe on the outside in the overall position, but Ant Brown holding his own this time. Dave Rose has filed in behind the positive perception car of Ash Copeland, forced a little wide. Wellborn was just down the inside, so that meant he had to take the wide line. He wasn't really forced, but now he's driving on the grass, so Ash is going to want to rein that back in. Alex McGee behind has got down the inside of John Walker, and he will now have a run on these 2 cars ahead as they file through. So Ellie ended up starting from the pits again. I'm not so sure. I didn't think she did. No, she didn't. She's well in the mix. There's Ellie. Sorry, Ellie. Do watch this back. She's now going after Ashburn. There she is. So they all filed through. That's a bit of a chain behind Alex McGee. Breathing room ahead. Meanwhile, your front 2, Matt Johnston wants that lead. You know he likes to strike early on in the race. Goes for the cutback. Ryan's fairly well parked. Both comparable on the throttle, so they drive out as they came in. Down into that final chicane already. Got some breathing room to Wellborn. Oh, that's a long way back for Matt. He half thinks about it. He didn't really commit. Ryan's gave him room, and they've managed to drive on through. Ryan with a far better line out of the turn, and this is letting Andrew just keep them in his sights. And he's now under a little pressure. Let's hope that car switches on. Ash Copeland on the back foot a little, and pushed on, so it doesn't look like that understeer is cured. If anything, it's still there. Brakes later to maintain the position. Ash not able to cut back because there's that Camaro parked on the apex. Let's jump out the heli. There we go. Dave Rose wants a bit of this action. He's going to wait for Ash to make a move, try and close up, and then be ready to strike whilst the iron's hot. It's a slow car further back. Chris Monroe has been taken by Osborne, and then possibly Pole as well. The 2 Porsches really starting to attack. He's going to brake later to try and maintain the place ahead of Stephen. Comparable amount of curb taken. Stephen a little on the back foot. That's allowed Ash Wootton to come over the crest. Right on his rear bumper. Is it a place to attack? It's not on this time of asking. Ellie's there as well. All over the rear of Ash. Oh, there's been contact down the front. Let's go for a 10-second rewind quick. So Matt Johnson's looked to the inside, not really made an overlap, and then just pushed on slightly as Ryan's taken a normal line. So Andy Wellborn picks up the pieces. Where have they recovered to? It looks like 5th, but let's just let them file across the line before we confirm it. That's not what you want to see. Matt desperate to make that move early on. So Wellborn leads from Johnston. Ant Brown with the fastest lap now, as you do. That car maybe not understeering as it was previously. You've then got Ash Copeland and then Ryan, where it's then a gap to Paul Hayhoe, whereas McGee behind now under attack from Challoner. Can Challoner go the long way round? He's going to brake later, turn in, not too far off those marbles, but earlier on the power. Forcing Alex to take a tighter line than he would have liked to, but that tighter line is the shorter route. Alex earlier tries to get the switch back. It looks like it's worked, but it will be the outside for the next chicane, and that's keeping the cars behind well within contention. There's been some action further back as Walker and Rose have dropped to the back of the pack, as has Monroe. So then Ellie Douglas up to 13th, so she's kept her nose clean following Ash Wooten. Not sure what's happened there, but there's a number of incidents gone on. So it's mix up at the start of this hour race. Welcome in. We're only 4.5 minutes into this race. This is lap 2. Flash of the lights, so the packs are all mixed up. Johnston's got back through at the front, so it's not taking him long to get his way past. He takes out some signage. He's got his way back past Andrew Wellborn. And Brown just behind, and then it's Ryan who will have to get his way past Ash, although, yeah, big chunks of curb, he's desperate to do so. Not going to be too impressed, but he's got plenty of time to do it. He did have a faster last lap, a number of drivers doing their PBs on this time of asking. He's got that Aston Martin Dyson, dancing even. It's on a knife edge. Just waiting for the right moment. Faster apex there than the Porsche ahead. Looks like the moment. Can he go all the way around the outside into the chicane? The Porsche is going to brake later. They so close into the braking zone. Ryan having to tuck back in. The cars ahead able to break away, so Ash putting up a fair defence, and as he rightly can. It's just unfortunate for Ryan, as it was the result of that contact earlier on. Paul Hayhoe now just in a bit of a middle ground, keeping himself to himself. That's exactly what you need to do in this situation, whereas Alex McGee has got the Porsche of Osborne tucked right up behind him. Matty in the chat encouraging Ant in his own unique way. I'll leave you to read that out. Yeah, a little bit of understeer from Alex. The Porsche more tidy behind. Flash of the lights saying, "You go on, I'm coming, I'm coming past." No defence shown by the Ginetta. They brake comparably, but not able to get alongside Alex. Alex versus Alex now. Ryan, you see just heading out your screen at the bottom, still tucked up behind the Porsche. Hayhoe in his own gap. Challoner not doing too much at the moment. Dab at a brake to get the nose in, probably pushing on slightly. That's a move from the Porsche ahead, so he's come from a little further back. He's not had to do a cutback. He's left McGee thinking that he was safe, and he slung it down the inside. There's still side by side some contact that opens up the steering for the Porsche. Joe picks up the pieces, has to keep a tight line. He's going to put him for the outside. Don't think he's quite cleared the Ginetta just yet. No, he's going to come back. So McGee comes back down the inside. I'm watching the wrong car. The Porsche with a faster run. Joe tries to cover it. He's already half alongside, 2 wheels on the grass. He's getting argy-bargy. McGee remains at the front, but they're swapping and dicing behind. Mark Senyo in his Mercedes, just keeping check. And he's got Stephen Pohl right with him. Just looking at the times, Ellie's dropped back, so unfortunately 10 seconds back, but it's a long race and you feel like everything is far from done. Back to the outside, Porsche the long way around. Tries to get on the throttle earlier, hits that exit curb, and he's probably got Joe a bit too close. Meanwhile, Mark a little slower off the turn, has to cover the inside from Stephen now. The Porsche down the front is down the inside of the Ginetta. McGee, the two Alexes coming together once more. Oh no, it's a big one! Oh no, it's 3 cars. Through comes Ash. They're all dicing through the gap, but that's huge damage. Mark's been caught up in that. Alex and Alex really fighting each other. McGee back to the pits. That car did a head-on with the wall. So both getting crossed up. That's not what you like to see. That's not what Slip and Grip's all about. But that is one huge accident. That would be a red flag. Meanwhile, back down the front, Matt Johnston's trying to run away, so any 5-second penalties for any further or earlier incidents don't affect him. And Brown holding on ahead of Andrew Welborn. That's a good fight. So Matty J's taken that fastest lap away from Ant. Ant holding on well. Last lap from Ant in the 39s. It was in the 40s for Andrew. Sideways Welborn. You can start scoring these drifts soon. 50 minutes left. Those tyres will be absolutely screaming. Don't know if his tyre pressures are off, but the fast track not offering up as much grip as we had earlier on in the evening. He's all over the back of Ant. He's just waiting for his moment to strike. Ryan Ware, having cleared Ash Copeland, is now trying to bridge the gap, so Andrew will be keen to try and run away, but Ant, rightly so, fighting to hold on to that second place behind Johnston. There is Ryan. How's he done that last lap? It's a PB, 38.2. However, Matt's doing 37s down the front. Not sure how sustainable that is, but we will soon find out. It's now Porsche versus Porsche. Ash Copeland in the positive perception Porsche, ahead of the what was it? Kart Review UK Porsche. Paul Hayhoe, the Arrive and Drive specialist, who qualified on pole in the Glenduro positive perception event last night. Qualified on pole and only decided he was doing the event a half hour before, but there we go. Fair play to Paul for doing that. So Joe, minding his own business earlier on, managed to keep his nose clean around the accident. 3 cars in the pit: Alex McGee, Alex Osborne and Mark Samuel, as you would expect, the guys that were wrapped up in the tyres. Horrendous crash, one of the largest we've seen in a while, as John Walker gets it sideways further back, spins it all the way around and then goes to carry on. Let's just have a quick 10 seconds. So it's the Mars car down the inside, clips the back of John, who had half covered the line, wasn't really alongside. We'll leave that one for the marshals, but John dispatched and able to turn around and get moving once again. Some front end damage on that car, so he's had a few nibbles of various bits of car and barrier and all sorts like that. Now a word from our sponsors in the chat. It's more spam if you're not seeing it being played back later on if you're watching this. So those are the 3 cars still in the pits. That was some really rather large damage. I don't know if John did clip a couple of those cars and if he is running damage or if it isn't from other incidents. Let's just have a quick look. So Ellie in 13th. Just closed in on John Walker. That gap is now 7 seconds. She was 10 seconds off the back of the pack, but now 3 cars behind her and well on her way after chasing down John those lap times, because John had that incident. Yeah, Ellie able to bring that gap way down. Mark's just starting to roll out the pits. McGee has gone, but it's Osborne still sat there. These guys are going to be running a lap down. So Matty J, 6 seconds clear at the front at the moment, running in the 37s, whereas you've got Ant Brown and Ryan Ware, who's made it past Welborn. When has that happened? Let's go back a minute. No, he'd already done it. Sorry, you now have to watch a minute of the start of that lap when Ryan had got past Andrew. So Andrew dropping off the back. He put up a good fight though. He'll try and go with Ryan past Ant now. That Aston Martin looking ever so composed. You saw a narrow line through that apex there, so we'll have had a run on Ant even down this straight. Oh, Ant with a big sideways, having to skip the chicane. He'd have had to back off, or he may have even taken a strike for it just to try and stay ahead of Ryan. 616 car. Even on the brakes there, looking more composed. See Paul Hayhoe in the Porsche in the background, having some good fights. Number 16's done a PB whilst we're watching this. Dave Rose getting faster. So after all of that, Ryan just dipping wide, so not able to get past. And as well this time. Paul in the background battling. Does Ant make the chicane? He does, but they're all taking huge chunks. Huge chunks out of that chicane. Alex Osborne in the Porsche has unfortunately left, so and Andrew's sideways again. He's not got the rear on that car that he wanted. We're up to 29 degrees on track temp, and if he's already been sideways, he might have taken the best out of the life of those. So Matty J run away at the front, might even end up... Oh, Ant's wide, there we go, this is the opportunity Ryan's been looking for. Ant not quite finding his braking point, and like he said in between the races, as soon as he gets into that ABS and the car starts to push on, there's no getting it back until you come to a complete stop. He's still down the inside, but Ryan's gone for the long way round. Ant with the understeer leans on him. He's then given both the cars plenty of room through the second apex, and that's well borne through as well. Across the line they go. Now Ryan has the mission. He's got 45 minutes left. He's 8.4 seconds off the back of Matt. Matt is able to lap at the moment, 0.2 quicker, but Ryan's got free air now. So as long as he can keep the guys behind, but Andrew looking sharper through that turn. Ryan just needs to break away and go after Matt. Keep that gap close, so any penalties applied for any contact. Not saying there should be, but staying impartial. If there are any incidents highlighted to the stewards later on, it will be that gap that is the critical value to watch throughout this race. Now all over the back, and got the wipers on and the hazard lights on. The track's ticked over to optimum, no sign of rain yet. In 15 minutes we'll know the forecast towards the end of the race. And out the way, what's he doing? With the hazard lights on and the wipers going, I had no idea. Absolutely no idea. I've not seen that before. Do we try and grab a word with him? I feel it's wrong and he's in the zone. Ah, the hazard lights are off. The wipers are off. Did someone donate to his stream and he had to do a challenge? I have no idea, but we'll leave him alone as he's probably back in the zone. What was that last lap for Ryan? At 30.097. Matt did a 38.097. Matt Johnston did a 38.077, so they're 0.02 apart. The track is now optimum, so will that suit Ryan's car better? Will it suit Matt's car better? We will find out as this race unfolds. A quarter done, 3 quarters to go. Ash Copeland keeping it clean in the positive perception Porsche. Just needs to sustain that pace. He's comfortably actually faster than a couple of cars ahead, so he's got the opportunity to close them down. We've then got have Paul Hayhoe. So the arrive and drive specialist down into the chicane. Currently running in 6th, bit of breathing room. Joe Challoner will want to close him down. Did by the tune of 2 seconds on the last lap, so we'll watch that as it unfolds. Then got Alex McGee in his Ginetta just behind Joe, getting blue flagged out the way. So then Stephen Pole, who we saw Alex battling with earlier on, coming through currently in 8th. Over the hill, it's Avon Road. Rather V8 and American understeering Camaro. A little bit of oversteer on the rear, just to remind you that it doesn't handle at all. Dave Rose heading down the back straight, but of course the camera's not watching him. It likes to watch empty stuff, and by the time it catches up, we're on the next camera. DR Racing Aston Martin down into the final chicane. Pink wheels and a rather scuffed couple of bumpers, but he's got John Walker not too far behind. See how these laps compare. PB for Dave Rose, 38.9, 39.6 for John, so probably nursing a little more damage from the earlier incident. Ashwood also with that front end damage, and a a little scuff on the rear as well. He'll try and hunt John down. Ellie Douglas got them in her sights, not quite been able to hold on. Actually closed them down slightly on the last lap, 2 seconds a lap quicker than Ash. So stick in there, Ellie, and you may make up further places. Recovering Mark, he is then a lap off the back of Ellie, so comparable on position on circuit. But still quite a long way to go. Might not be the end of the incidents that we've seen. Alex McGee is actually 3 laps down, so a hefty amount of damage was on that Ginetta. Should be fine now though, and he's taken the battle to Joe. Ahead of Ant Brown at the moment, that's half a second gap. Let's just see how these two compare. Gap at the front, 8.9. Ryan slightly slower on the last. Oh, Andrew's sideways off that curb. It's not quite where he wants it. It looks an absolute handful and potentially improving over last lap. Amount to curb. I think a few drivers would have jacked the cars up. The sun definitely come out since the start of the race, so it was clearing rain that we saw, not incoming rain. Big chunks of curb. That car really pushing on, didn't get it stopped, it looked like he did. It's going to go to the left, but Andrew's going to have it covered. Not enough of an overspeed, and comparable on the braking. These two holding each other up. Let's leave in Ryan free towards the front to go after Matt. And it's bringing Ash Copeland back into contention. Ash Copeland was 3 seconds off. It's now 2.7, so yeah, those 3/10 closed in. Andrew, huge chunk of curb. Not the Wellborn we're used to seeing. Sideways on entry, Ant more composed. These tweaks seem to be working for Ant. Osborne to the pits now. No, Osborne's on the left. McGee is still about. Fair few laps down now for Alex. This is your closest battle at the moment. We'll try and keep tabs on anyone moving further back. Ash Wotton unsettled over that curb. That's put him right off his delta. That's falling away. He's lost a second this lap already. Hopefully he can just compose it again, but that's Paul then behind that may be able to capitalise. Johnston down the front, stretching his lead to 10 seconds, so even if that earlier contact were to result in a 10-second penalty, he's then still got the win. As it stands at the moment, a long way to go. Let me know if you're in the chat. I know a few of you commented before the spam bot at the time of the crash. Let me know if it's still there. It's good to know you're actually talking and people are listening, and it's not just those that will rewatch it later on. I'm not sure how many viewers we've got either, but thanks for joining. If you haven't, please do hit the like button. Helps it bump it up the list on the homepage if it were to show. Recommends it to a few more people that like the GT3s and GT4s on the Assetto Corsa Competizione. If you have, of course, stumbled across this video and you want to go racing, it is an open invite series. You are more than welcome to get involved. Still your closest battle on track. Let's just go and have a look at Ant Brown's onboard. There we go, a little scuff of the grass or the gravel as we jump on board, you heard it. braking zone. See him feathering the brake. That's representative of what the driver's actually doing based on pedal input. The guys running potentiometers, so the pedal position, others using load cells or even hydraulic to measure the pressure on the pedal. Yeah, absolutely, Matt. The spam is based on my cookies. What can I say? Probably not much. So down into the heavy we go. You hear the scrubbing, the single input steering from Andy, the steering wheel just levelling out mid-apex. He's dropped back from Andy on this lap. He's actually a second down on his delta. So it's like this car goes through phases of the tyres being where he needs them and where they're not. Yeah, pushed slightly deep there, didn't manage to get it stopped. Oversteer on the power, so the car all over the place. It's a breathing room for Andy, now 1.4 down, 1.8 earlier in the lap beforehand. Gets into that first apex a little bit more locked than he would have wanted, back on the power. Out to the left, make the car hit the circuit as wide as possible, smooth line through there. To drive it out over the curves. McGee getting out of the way, and I fear, yeah, he's back to the pits. I think Alex McGee's going to follow Alex Osborne and call it quits for the evening. Which leaves Mark Samuel, the last car from that incident, running. A lap down at the moment. He's managed to get past Ellie, but he's now got a full lap to do to get back to Ellie and try and take that 13th place. So a huge chance for Mark to deal with there. Ashworth in a bit of a gap now. 5 seconds back from John Walker, who we saw a little unsettled earlier on. There he is, dipping his way through the chicane, so the field quite spread out now. There goes McGee, yeah, just dipping out of the session. Which, to be fair, it would have written both the cars off, so not surprising it took so long in the pits. It's Dave Rose and then Chris Monroe further up the road. There they are. So those two still got a chance of a battle. These gaps will just close up every so often and stretch a little further. Personal best for car number 1, that's Joe Challoner on that last lap, 38.6, so puts him 2/10 faster than Paul Hayhoe, the car ahead of him on the road. Just 4.5 seconds to try on a road to close that gap down. Here's Stephen Pohl, Vanderpoel Motorsports Porsche. Currently leading the silver cars, but even just arriving to this event would have been the podium. I need the admin account for this. The spam bot in the chat is awful. There is Joe Challoner. Let's jump on board, see how he's getting on. More spam. Here we are on his dashboard, so braking heavily through that chicane, knowing how much you can cut. Good about the second to get on the power and rotate the car through what becomes almost a double right-hander. Out over the crest, you've not got enough power to unsettle the car over there, so that one is absolutely... Actually, didn't we? We had a huge crash over that rise and fall in the... Was it the last series, the Porsches? I believe there was a huge pile up at this circuit as well. The car seems composed over those two apexes. Yeah, Matty, every time you message in the chat, the spam bot tries to make it so it's the only thing visible, so it spams even more. It's an unfortunate trait of spam bots. Down an extra gear to get the nose in for Joe. You heard the car almost over revving and the car rotating on that lift off oversteer, or the underspeed of the rear wheels. Sounds a little bit scrubby through there, but not too bad. It's going of rain in the next half hour. It needs to update the forecast quick because we've only got 31 minutes left, so a minute to go until we reach that halfway point. 4 seconds to Paul Hayho, but you can see on track that is a visible gap. Joe's got that target to go chasing after. There he is. Very, very fast, heads into there on the brakes and settles him for the second part, so what he gained going in he's probably lost coming out. I say that though, and he's a second up on his delta, so you do you, Joe. Absolutely sending it. A gap to Paul now, 4 seconds on the dot, visibly coming down. We get it stopped, we do, hooks it in on the power, rotate the car, brings in full throttle to drive it out of the turn. See more cars ahead of Paul, Sash Copeland and Anne Brown, who are actually very close to Wellborn. So, sorry Joe, we're going to leave you there. Right. There we go. So, oh, what had closed up has now settled down. We were within a second, and now we're a second and a half apart. Back straight they head, and those gaps have pulled out somewhat. Paul up on his delta. There he is. And Joe will come through. There is Joe. 4.5, so Paul has improved and Joe's maintained pace, so yeah, Paul now the one with the cars ahead, well within his sights and making moves forwards. These three all bunching up again into the chicane. Where are we? There we are. Could well go after Ant, but it seems Ant stronger in the first part of the lap rather than the second. Yeah, Ant in the 39s, the car's behind in the 38s. So it looks like the track is going to stick at this optimum with scattered clouds and some sunshine. The gap map to Ryan. We've got a yellow flag. Quick jump on the track map. Who was yellow? Don't see any yellow. It might have been one of the guys letting someone else through. No yellow flags at the moment, but you do see the field spread. Johnston managed to get away from Ryan Ware there. A bit more on that last lap. To 12 seconds now. She's going well, but just not quite able to get on the back of Ant just yet, so we'll hold fire. Chris Monroe's improving. He will be closing in on the back of Stephen Pole. Disputing the fact that Chris is the number 3 car with that huge 3 on the side. No, he's number 6. Oh, good. Not sure why that's happened. Do we have a number 3? No idea. So the number 3 car heads through, which is actually the number 6. Number 6 in 9th. Through the last split, 1.086. Let's see what it is as we head across the start-finish line. Both head through. It's 1.2, so Porsche may be more agile in that last sector. More wide for Stephen Pole. Porsche bobbing its way around the outside line there. Wiggle of oversteer. Actually sporting some rear damage there. And then the gap down to 0.8, so as quick as it went up, it's come back down. These drivers not taking any curb, compare that to the front of the field. Some huge differences there on sustainability of the cars, but also the pace of the laps. Overall, Ash Copeland now at 0.991 off the back of Ant Brown. We'll have to go and have a look in a moment. Spam box going crazy. Monroe closing ever closer. Keep it tidy through here. So let's see if this gap goes up through the last sector. See if it just suits the Porsche a little bit. So it was 0.7. 0.8, yeah, the Porsche, I know it's only 0.1, but the Porsche a little more comfortable through the last sector. Whereas Chris Monroe able to close in through the first two. Just check Ash Copeland. There he is over the hill. Ash Copeland chasing down Ant Brown. Paul Hayhoe and Joe Challen, they're just sitting tight. That 4-second gap for Challen, about where it was a few laps back. Lost a bit of circuit temp, back down to 28 now as we move through the race. Quarter for real time, not real time, in game time. Real time, 10 past 9. John Walker fighting that McLaren. Damage probably not ideal for him. Meanwhile, we've got Chris Monroe still chasing down Stevens. Stevens doing alright. Let's just compare the lap times on this one. At the final turn we go. So the gap now 1.2. 0.6. No, sorry, 0.4. 3. 0.3 different on that last lap. I was reading the wrong name. So Ash Copeland lapping a fair bit faster than Ant Brown now. There we go. Yeah, he's managed to get all over the back of him. I think he was a little wide out of that chicane there, but no matter. They are still rather close. Seen Ant fighting all the way through the first race. Let's see how he does in this second. 2.5 minutes, will be 2/3 through. See how they've done on their fuel calculations. The car's getting lighter, but the tyres wearing out. They're able to sustain this pace. That Porsche way sharper on the front end, able to get the nose in, but the superior horsepower of the Camaro saves Ant and shoves him down the straight. As we head into the final chicane, Ash later on the brakes across the first curb. Oh, he's turned in, Ant was still there. The two of them come together, Ant still trying to gather it back up as is Ash, and Paul Hayhoe's there to pick up the pieces. There we go as Ant heads away. That's really unfortunate. Probably not enough room given. Let's try and do a chase cam. So Ash has come alongside into the braking zone. He's got that move done. Keeps over the curb and gives him room, but Ant's still there. Ash just trying to take that optimum line, and the recovering cars allow Paul to make his way through and head off into the distance. That's the underworld. There's Joe Challenger. So now Jo is at a point. We've got a drive-through for Ellie Douglas, so she has managed to find probably one too many track limits. That's unfortunate for Ellie. She's been doing well, good pace in these races. Best lap for Ellie, a 39.8, and a number of these guys, well, Ash Wotton, 39.9 is his best, so Ellie well in contention. She's just in to serve that drive-through now. The logo appearing on your screen, the P to signify that the driver is in the pits. Let's have a quick rundown again. Johnston heads across the line, 24 laps done. We're now on to lap 25. Rain forecast in half an hour, but we've only got 20 minutes left, so unfortunately that's both races where we're 10 minutes shy of rain. Might cool the track off a little though, the temperature dropping. Ryan Ware, 13 seconds off of Matt, so he really needs to try and bring that time down. Last lap was 0.2 off of Matt's time. They're both running around in the 37s. You then got Andrew Wellborn running in the 39s at the moment in his Alpine, but he's got a bit of breathing room back because he's dispatched Ant's then been in those battles, and you've got Paul Hayhoe. He's done an arrive and drive. He'll be learning the Porsche with every lap. He'll be getting more consistent and potentially quicker. 39.1 at the moment on his last lap. He's taken the best out of those tyres. Ash Copeland behind 0.2 faster, but having had that contact with Ant, he's going to just have to get his nose down, head down, and try and get back after Paul. Ash elected not to give that position back to Ant. Flash the hazards lights, I think, because Joe Challoner is going to want to get past Ant Brown, but they were lapping slightly different paces. And he'll just be finding his feet again after that contact. We don't know what damage that would have done to the tyres. Both drivers were rather sideways and would have taken some life out of them. Got a yellow flag. That's just Ellie letting these cars through. Nicely done, Ellie. No negative impact on anyone's race. She jumps straight back on and grabs a bit more seat time. Stephen Powell and Chris Monroe were having a battle by the sound of it. The timings were 0.062 across that last sector. Let's see how they get on for the remainder of this lap. Just see similar characteristics as Ant was seeing earlier on. The Camaro pushing on slightly. Back over to the right hand side fairly early on, signifying he's not going to defend. Rightly so, don't end up defending fresh air. Drive through for Matt Johnston. This changes things up. So obviously the drivers are pushing the limits of the curves, and you'd have a pretty good guess. Yeah, it was the one where he launched the chicane. Let's just go back. Let's see how much he's launched it. So Matt Johnston with a load of breathing room, probably taking a few too many risks, trying to keep that gap to Ryan, and he's been sending it. So borderline on the first. It's a huge leap that counts as a cut track. So yeah, Matt really pushing on there. He will kick himself. That drive through is going to be more than a 13-second lead. It's just where he gets fed back out into the pack. I imagine he'll stay out, try and build that lead as much as he can. I'm completely wrong. He's understeering his way into the pit lane, probably compromising every chance he had. So not only has he not tried to maximise his lead, he's also pushed on in the pit lane. But there we go. It's going to liven it back up for us. Here's Ryan through the chicane. So Matt barely into the pit lane. He's only just crossed that start-finish line by the time Ryan is through. So providing Ryan can keep it clean, it should be the next 17 minutes that he has to just cruise round and not lose out any time. Nice clean road ahead. He's not particularly got any back markers to deal with. Last lap time was a 38.2, so a good fair time. Matt just coming out of the pits now. Is he going to be fed into any traffic? There's Ryan. So Wellborn was through. Here's Hayhoe. So Paul has got Ash Copeland right with him. We saw Ash had that pace to try and get past Ant earlier on. Not too much damage by the looks of it, and the tyres must be okay because he's gone well after Paul on that last time of asking 0.2 faster. No, an entire second faster. So Ash able to take a second out of Paul on that last time of asking. Matt's going to just have to get his head down, go chasing after Wellborn, and try and get back after Ryan. He's certainly trying. He's airborne. and Hayhoe's followed him. So you wouldn't be surprised as you see Joe Challoner making moves, or is that Monroe making moves? I've forgotten who started where, but these two having a good battle. Based on the last lap, it's Monroe that's closed down Joe. So it's gone from all very quiet to now a fair few battles on track. The last 2 laps, Challoner was faster than Ant. Yellow flag. Ten. Stephen Pole. What's gone on there? Oh, I've just caught 10 seconds ago he was rolling to a stop. Mechanical issue? No idea. Stephen Pole rolled to a stop in the gravel trap, so there's a yellow flag at turn 1. Across the line we go for Ryan. He's now in 38.6. Wellborn probably comparable. He was on the last time of asking. 38.5. Johnston 37.5. So Matt is a second a lap faster. And if he can be a second a lap faster, he could close in Ryan by the end of the race. However, sustaining that pace is going to be tricky, and he's got Andrew Wellborn to get past. Stephen Pole to the pits now, so not sure what's happened for Stephen. Matt really pushing. Let's check how airborne he gets on this lap. The Man Filters Mercedes heads down. On the grass, he's going to come in too quick and he's just going to cut it. So he's going to take that as a cut. Probably not very sporting, but unable to slow down on the grass. He can justify that one to the stewards. Nah, he's too sideways. He's really pushing on now. That's going to be hurting. The last one was invalid as well. Wellborn spins back across the track. He's now blind on the circuit for the others. He needs to move to the right as he's just done now. Oh no, that's huge for Wellborn, but that does allow Matt to clear. Let's just jump on board. Sorry Andrew, we are going to watch this back. Skips the first, skips the second. Takes the car off the curb. And where I said these cars weren't powerful enough, he's dropped it off the curb. He's dropped it off the curb, just running wide. Oh, Matt does well to skim through. He's then thought about going left and has then gone right. Getting back underway, that's then Paul and Ash through the underworld. So he's up and running again, and he's got 2 cars ahead inside. Left of the car rotating though. Hot tyres are not going to help here, and they certainly will be hot on that last lap. Half a second for Johnston. So he was half a second quicker than Ryan out front. Let's jump off board again. There's a rather damaged looking Alpine. Joe Challoner is going to want to close them 5 gaps. 5 gaps? 5 seconds gap. That's going to be pretty tough for Andrew to hold on, but Joe has got mirrors full of And Brown. Oh, Andrew's off again. That car not doing what he needs it to. Joe needs to give him loads of room. Andrew back to the pits. He's had enough of that one. Andrew calls it quits with the damage caused by that slap into the wall. Thought Ryan was going into the pits then, I hesitated. So Ryan out of the turn, heads across the line. He has been doing, or has done, a 38 dead. Johnston, huge chunk of curb he's pushing. It's flamboyant, he's really, really trying. It's going to be 38 dead, so he's matched Ryan on that lap. 14-second deficit in 10 minutes. He needs to be over a second a lap quicker, and he is not at the moment. Hey-ho, covering the inside from Ash Copeland. Ash will then get the cutback. Ash can go over to the left-hand side, try and open up that corner. There we go, he's not elected to drop in, but he's let Paul fade through ahead, and he's managed to get on the power earlier. Staying well in contention of Paul, really pressuring Paul now as he's wide, dips a wheel onto the gravel. Through we go, another tighter line from Ash Copeland. There we go to the outside for Ash. What can he do? So going to be a long way round, not much you can do from there. Paul gets it stopped, leaves him plenty of room. A huge jump at a curb for Ash. They're comparable on the exit, but Ash's wheels not able to put down the traction because he was in mid-air. Not able to keep the nose ahead through the fast left-hander. Brake comparable, both get it stopped. Get through the chicane, the kick of the car jumping through there. And in the background has dropped off the back of Joe Challoner. We're down to 11 cars. So we've lost Stephen Pole, who appeared to just drive straight on. And we've lost Ash Wooten in the Mars car as well. Lost Ash a while ago actually on lap 18. Mark Saniel now in 11th. Final of the positions, Ellie a little further behind after doing the drive-through. These two still having a good old battle. Last laps for the leaders, both 37.9, so Ryan switched it on as he saw Matt doing exactly the same. 14-second gap. Just need to wonder what your leader's on for drive-throughs, but we're going to assume that he's got breathing room so he can carry on sending it as he has been doing. These two putting up a real good fight. Let's jump on board. There is Ash. Oh, you heard a kick of gravel. That's not going to help his pace. You see Paul pulling away further down the straight. Just going to get it lined up. Yeah, that gap now 0.7. Down the gears, Paul a little more ragged ahead, so that 0.7 would have come down slightly. Over the rise and fall we go. Through the left-hander, trying not to get too many marks. The tyres brake in a straight line, get it stopped down, the gears in across the curb, and the second. Faster through there for Ash, a little having to be hesitant coming back off the throttle. Paul probably cleaner coming on. You heard another lift there to get the nose in for Ash. Rise and fall. It's the demise of Wellborn. Braking down we go. Yeah, we've lost Wellborn as well, sorry. So 5 drivers out of this race. The gap was down to 0.3, and then after this section it will probably have gone back up a little bit. Paul's been a little cleaner. Good drive from Hayho out of there. 0.3 becomes 0.6, so that gap really fluid, really forwards and backwards. Joe Challoner 5.3 behind, not in contention at the moment. Let's go and see what Dave Rose is doing. There he is. Well, it's attack mode for Dave Rose, 0.3 off the back of Monroe as we head down into turn 1. 6 minutes left on the timer. We're certainly not going to see that rain, but it's a real shame. The track temp is coming down. We're down to 27 degrees as it's clouding over. Ash Copeland 0.8, Dave Rose 0.5. We've got a couple of close gaps. John Walker to the pits. Is that a fuel calculation? Is that tyres? Ant Brown with a drive-through, so that's going to promote these two up. Ant Brown now pushing the limits. We've got 5 minutes left, but that's still enough time for that one more cut track. An overlap to the left there for Dave through the braking zone. He's earlier on the power. The horsepower of the Chevy just going to pull it along. Then be a late breakdown into the final chicane. Dave closes up again. Unwind the steering, away across the line we go. We put to bed lap 33. To lap 34, the track ever changing. Will make a difference, those 2 degrees on the tyre pressures. Especially if someone's been burping a curb. Ant Brown still in the pits for a drive-through. So these two are through. That's Ant down to 8th. John Walker still in the pits as well, so that's not good for John. Left on the timer now. John Walker still in the pits, has now been passed by Ellie Douglas and Mark Samuel. So Ellie currently running in 9th, Mark in 10th, and it's John static in the pits. Now exiting the pit lane, but he's been there a very long time. I'm not sure what happened to put John there, but the last full lap was a 2 minutes, so one would assume he's ended up with damage. These two were 0.3 apart. They are now 0.8 apart, so the other gap may be slightly closer at this stage. Hey-Ho is now behind Copeland. Or was that the case? Got a short-term memory loss. It's been quite a long race and it's quite a long time to commentate by yourself, so apologies. But I believe Ash has made his way past Paul. Definitely was. Yeah, makes sense, Andrew. I assumed there was quite a lot of damage. Didn't know that you'd got the wrong setup on, but yeah, a number of cars dropping out. So in the closing stages, a minute and a half left of this race. Yeah, if you could sort the span, that would be fantastic. So in the last minute, Cat, Paul, have a go back at Ash, or is Ash going to hold on to his podium position? The gap down the front looks to be too big. I think it's 13 seconds. So Matt only just able to close in on Ryan slightly, but an unfortunate drive through there. Ash with a big chunk of curb. He might be playing it risky, or he might have a bit of breathing room. And with that drive through to make him down to 8th this time.
Leaders on final lap now.
Okay, then Ryan crosses the line ahead of all these guys. The audio notification that we are then going on to our final lap. It's a shame, the rain's only 10 minutes away. It could have really spiced up this race. It's always good to watch a changeable race, but it wasn't to be today. We've actually fit both races into a window where there's no rain. This track developing onto an optimum and up to 29 and then back down to 27, so the track has been changing. Really well done from Ryan so far. He's had an absolutely brilliant race. That contact with Matt earlier on didn't deter him. Well reserved on his track cut, so he's just bringing that car home. Whereas Matty J, I'm going to guess, is absolutely pushing every last moment. There's the first curve. No, actually quite reserved. There you go. Oh, he's 0.8 off, so he has settled down too. No one wants any cut tracks. These two have far from settled down, so let's see. Paul into the back of Ash. He pushes him round. Oh no! So in the closing stages, Joe Challoner's going to pick up one place. Nearly gets reversed into. That was really, really close. Ash Copeland now recovering. Paul's letting him back through. There he goes. It's John Walker then, who's a lap down, comes through, so doesn't need to do anything too silly. Then it's Chris Monroe further back, so Challoner benefiting massively. It looks like he'll be on the podium, but you can't penalise Challoner for something that Paul Hayhoe has done on the last lap.
The leader has finished.
Oh, Ryan, there he is. Well done to Ryan. The red flag waves as the red and black car takes the win. There's Matty J on the power. Sticks it sideways a bit the wrong way as well. Weaves his way across the line with a drive through, still coming out in second place. Such was his pace. Joe Challoner keeping it clean in the white Alpine. Heads across the line, picking up that final podium position with a flash of the lights. He'll be well pleased with that. Ash will be slightly frustrated having had that contact with Paul on the last lap, but it's one of them things, I believe, and it'll go to the stewards, but I'm not sure how you'll penalise Paul any more than finishing 5th. Wellborn, that spam bot's still there, you've not done it. Then across the line for Chris Monroe, with Dave Rose only 0.9 behind him. Ant Brown, after his drive-through, wrestles the car for an 8th place. Then it will be Ellie having battled that car from the pit lane in race 1 and then starting from 13th in this race for an 8th place overall. Battle of attrition there. Mark Sanyal across the line as well after that trip through the pit lane, as did John Walker, who is then trying to just trying to get there. So Mark 0.9 off of Ellie. That was really close. So a really good battle all around. We would speak to Ryan, but he's not in the server and has gone. Won't talk to Matt because, well, yeah, there we are. Well done to everyone that's completed the race. Well done to those that took part and didn't quite complete it. Well done. And yeah, hope that was a bit of entertainment for your Sunday evening. If you are watching it back and you've made it this far, well done. If you're watching it back and you don't race with us, do please get involved, although we do appreciate the views. We've got a fun evening on Wednesday on Assetto Corsa. I believe we're running the Fun Cup, so nothing championship-wise, so you can get involved in that too. And then we'll be back next week for some more of this. Thank you very much for joining me. Good night.